Grand Theft Auto 1, commonly known as GTA 1, is the original title in the now iconic Grand Theft Auto series. Developed by DMA Design, now known as Rockstar North, and published by BMG Interactive. It was first released in 1997 for MS-DOS and Windows, with later versions for PlayStation and Game Boy Color. Unlike the 3D elements that come later, GTA 1 features a top-down bird's-eye view of the action. The game introduced players to an open-world format where they could roam freely through large urban environments, completing missions and engaging in various criminal activities, such as stealing cars, evading the police, and working for different crime syndicates. GTA 1 is set across 3 fictional cities, modelled after 3 real-world locations: Liberty City, inspired by New York City; San Andreas, based on San Francisco; and Vice City, modelled after Miami. Progression in this game is score-based, requiring players to accumulate a certain number of points, earned through missions and general chaos. Despite its simple graphics, the game drew controversy for its violent and mature themes. However, it also laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most successful and influential video game franchises in history. Today, Grand Theft Auto 1 is considered a cult classic and often revisited for its nostalgic value and its role in shaping open-world game design today. To tell you more about this game, we need to go right back to 1987 when DMA Design was founded, soon to become Rockstar North, not to be mistaken for Rockstar Games. Let me explain. DMA Design was founded in 1987 in Dundee, Scotland, by David Jones and a small group of developers. Mike Daly, first employee and core developer; Russell Kay, programmer and designer; Steve Hammond, writer and designer; and lastly, Gary Timmons, artist and animator. The studio gained fame with the release of Lemmings 1991, a puzzle game that became a global hit. The early success established DMA as a talented team with creative potential, but by the mid-1990s they were looking to the more edgier and more mature content, leading to the development of Grand Theft Auto. The history behind Grand Theft Auto 1 is a fascinating tale of intervention, controversy, and accidental success that helped birth one of the most influential franchises in gaming. The idea for the game began around 1995 under the working title Race and Chase. The original concept was to create a game where players could play as either cops or criminals in a city filled with traffic, pedestrians, and missions. The developers quickly realised, however, that playing as a criminal, stealing cars, causing chaos, and escaping police was way more fun. From there, this idea became the core gameplay mechanic. The team wanted the game to allow players to explore large urban environments, drive any vehicle they saw, and interact with the world in dynamic, unscripted ways. This was highly unusual in the mid-1990s, a time when most games were level-based, linear, or restricted in scope. To achieve this, the team had to build an entirely new game engine. The game engine for Grand Theft Auto 1 had to support several groundbreaking features for its time. It was built to accommodate a top-down perspective, also known as bird's eye view, which was rarely used in driving games and presented unique design challenges. The developers also implemented streaming city maps, allowing players to travel freely through the large urban environments without experiencing leveled transitions. This was a key element in creating the sense of an open world. In addition, the engine required dynamic AI behaviour, enabling realistic police chases and varied pedestrian reactions that added unpredictable and immersion. Finally, a custom physics system was necessary to handle vehicle movement and collisions from a top-down viewpoint, further enhancing the game's sense of chaos and freedom. From all of the above put together, this would be called the DMA Design Engine, sometimes referred to as the GTA engine. While it didn't specifically have a name like Unreal Engine or CryEngine, It was the functional engine for the early Grand Theft Auto games, and its influence can still be seen in the series today. All of those were challenging on the limited hardware for the time. At the heart of Grand Theft Auto 1 was the ability for players to roam around and explore a vast city at their own pace. While the game certainly had missions, usually revolving around crime such as stealing cars, completing heists, or taking down several gang members, there was also a sense that the player wasn't bound to just following orders. You could choose to ignore missions altogether and simply drive around, steal cars, or run wild, evading the police and triggering increasingly chaotic chases. The thrill of survival became a game in itself as players tried to stay one step ahead of the law, seeing how long they could survive with police attention. The idea of freedom and chaos was radical in 1997. Most games at the time focused on completing levels with a set of objectives in mind, and failure to follow the objectives often led to a game over. In contrast, Grand Theft Auto 1, a game world, wasn't constructed by these rules. There was no single right way to play it. You could engage with the game at your own pace, explore every corner of the city, or just create mayhem for fun. It was a level of agency and a player choice that had never been fully realised before in this kind of game. The development of Grand Theft Auto 1 was driven in part by technological limitations. The game's top-down perspective, in many ways a result of the constraints of the hardware at the time. The idea of having a vast open world on the limited storage of the time required creative solutions. Instead of having massive textures and 3D models, there was also a sense that the player wasn't bound to just follow orders. You could choose to ignore missions altogether. Throughout this development, David Jones and his team faced some real challenges, the first one being called the police bug. During the development of GTA 1, the team at DMA Design was working on the game's police AI, the behaviour of how the police would chase after the player. However, a bug in the code caused the police vehicles to behave abnormally. Instead of following traditional pursuit logic, where police might retreat or take some measurable actions, the AI caused the police cars to aggressively and relentlessly chase the player. These police cars would often ignore obstacles, traffic rules, and basic common sense, aggressively trying to catch the player no matter the circumstances. At the time, this was clearly not what the developers had intended. The original plan was for police chases to become strategic or manageable, but instead this bug created wild, chaotic chases that felt spontaneous and unpredictable. Rather than immediately correcting the bug, the developers decided to let testers play the game in its buggy form. The feedback they received was unexpectedly positive. Testers found the intense, out-of-control police chases to be a thrilling and entertaining experience. The chaos that ensued, where the player had to constantly evade the police in a rapidly evolving pursuit, added an element of excitement and tension that hadn't been seen in many games for its time. The randomness and the unpredictability of the police behaviour created a dynamic gameplay experience that felt fresh and exhilarating. Seeing the positive reactions to the police chases, the developers had a realisation. The bug wasn't just a flaw, it was actually a feature. These relentless police chases became one of the core elements of the game. It wasn't long before they refined the AI to make those chases even more engaging and dynamic. Instead of retreating the bug, they leaned into it, tweaking the police behaviour to make them more pursuable, creating an increasing complex and chaotic chase that kept players on edge. This shift in design became a hallmark of the Grand Theft Auto series. The emphasis on freedom of act, chaos and the thrill of evading law enforcement would be expanded upon in later games. The police chases became more significant later down the line. For example, in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, they incorporated different levels of law enforcement, increasing pursuit systems through to military units and helicopters. With games such as Grand Theft Auto Vice City and San Andreas, the police bug is a prime example of how game development can sometimes yield unexpected and spontaneous outcomes. What started as a simple coding error became a defining feature of one of the most successful and iconic gaming franchises in history. It turned out that the bug wasn't a mistake at all. It was the key to the game's appeal. The development of Grand Theft Auto 1 is also a clear example of how player enjoyment often guided design decisions over strict and rigid planning. The team listened to the feedback from early testers who loved the chaotic police chases and the ability to cause mayhem. While the game was initially intended to be more structured, the response to the open-ended, unscripted aspect led to a further refinement in that direction. The freedom to dive around, cause chaos, steal cars, evade the police was not planned from the outset, but it became clear that this was a huge part of what made the game fun. In fact, Grand Theft Auto 1 wasn't just about completing missions. It was about living and breathing the city, where your actions had consequences. The game became a playground for the player, one that was not confined by traditional rules, and continued to be a guiding principle for the entire Grand Theft Auto series. After 3 years of development, Grand Theft Auto 1 was officially released on November 28, 1997 in Europe, with its North American release following shortly after, likely between the 1st and 5th of December 1997. At the time, the gaming industry was dominated by linear, level-based titles, and Grand Theft Auto 1 had the open-ended structure, mature themes, and urban chaos made it an unusual entry that stood out in a crowded market. Despite its bold design, Grand Theft Auto 1 did not launch with a massive fanfare or blockbuster marketing. Instead, it gradually gained popularity through word of mouth, controversy, and grassroots interest, becoming what's often referred to now as a sleeper hit, something that achieves unexpected success. By mid-1999, the game had sold approximately 1 million copies worldwide across PC and PlayStation versions, a strong performance for a title developed on relatively modest budget and backed by the limited promotional efforts. The official budget has never been known, but it could range in the region of anywhere from 1 to 1.5 million British pounds. That's roughly 1.6 to 2.4 million dollars during this time. While detailed financial records for the game's initial release are sacred, and neither DMA Design, the developers, nor its publishers, BMG Interactive, and later known as Take-Two Interactive, publicly released exact revenue figures. Estimates from the International Analytics at the time placed total earnings of Grand Theft Auto 1 to be around anywhere from 30 to 40 million US dollars. This was considered an impressive return, especially given the scale of project and its relatively niche beginning. With the success of Grand Theft Auto 1 not only validated the team's experimental approach, but also paved the way for a series of follow-up titles. This included Grand Theft Auto London 1969 and Grand Theft Auto 2, both which expanded on the core gameplay and continued to develop the franchise's identity. This was accompanied by significant controversy, and the controversy played a critical role for the game's actual success. At a time when video games were still largely viewed as entertainment for children and teenagers, Grand Theft Auto's desire for violence, criminal activity, and adult themes set off alarm bells for parents, politicians, and the media. It wasn't just the gameplay that caused concern, it was the tone of the game. Rebellious. Grand Theft Auto 1 put players in the role of a career criminal, encouraging them to steal cars, run over pedestrians, evade the police, and complete missions for gangs. There was no attempt to moralise the player's actions, often darkly humorous approach to crime, treating mayhem as a sandbox for fun rather than cautionary tale. This content was rare and extremely bold for the late 90s. It quickly drew controversy from politicians and media watchdogs in both the UK and the US. Public figures like Jack Thompson, a US attorney and anti-video game activist, became campaigning against the game, arguing that it promoted criminal behaviour and desensitised young people to violence. Spoke out about how violent this video game was, and he became particularly notable within the Grand Theft Auto series. While his most prominent criticism were directed at later entries like Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, his concerns were rooted in the franchise's origins. Thompson argued that games like Grand Theft Auto were, quote, murder simulations, claiming they trained players, especially young youths, in violent behaviour. He stated, murder simulators are not protected speech. They are not even speech. They're dangerous physical appliances that teach a kid how to kill effectively and to love it, drawing parallels between video game mechanics and military training methods. He highlighted concerns about the psychological impact on teenagers, suggesting that these games can influence aggressive behaviour and diminish empathy, contributing to ongoing discussions about content regulation and age-appropriate gaming. According to several accounts from insiders and developers, BMG Interactive, the publisher of Grand Theft Auto 1, didn't just tolerate the moral panic surrounding Grand Theft Auto 1, they encouraged it. The game's themes of crime, violence, and player freedom were always going to raise eyebrows on the release in 1997. But rather than dialing down the tone or trying to reassure critics, BMG leaned into the controversy as a strategic marketing tool. MBG's thinking was straightforward. The more press that was on the game, the more integrated it became with the public. And in many ways, they were right. Reports suggested that MBG deliberately sent review copies to known critics of violent media and targeted media outlets that were likely to spark outrage. As intended, this resulted in a flurry of angry editorials, political soundbites, and tabloid-style stories about the game's content. This wasn't a marketing misstep, it was PR at its finest. By letting the game be seen as dangerous and inappropriate, BMG positioned Grand Theft Auto as the ultimate rebellious title, something that teenagers want to play because they were told not to. It became, and quote, the game your parents didn't want you playing, a powerful narrative in youth culture. For a budgeted game that had traditional limited advertising, this kind of attention was invaluable. MBG's publicity strategy gave Grand Theft Auto 1 a visibility boost that far outweighed what it could have achieved through paid media alone. The controversy towards the game acted as free advertising, spreading the game's name far beyond typical gaming circles, spreading the name Grand Theft Auto far beyond where they would normally get. As a result, Grand Theft Auto 1 rapidly gained a cult following driven by controversy and genuine appreciation for its open world freedom, something that was still naive at the time. Players who might have ignored the game under normal circumstances were now seeking it out just to see what all the fuss was about. As of now, June 2025, Grand Theft Auto 1 originally released 27 years ago. It remains an important title in the history of gaming. The game is not listed for sale on major digital storefronts like Steam, Epic Games Store, or console marketplaces, such as PlayStation and Xbox, and it has yet to receive an official remaster or re-release for a modern gaming platform. However, it can occasionally be found on third-party websites or in older game collections, though caution is advised when downloading from unofficial sources due to security risks. Despite its limited availability, Grand Theft Auto 1 continues to have a lasting impact on gaming. Its open-world design and sandbox gameplay set the foundation for the series' evolution, influencing later titles in the Grand Theft Auto franchise. The game's legacy is frequently acknowledged in retrospectives and discussions about the history of the series, with fans continuing to celebrate its role in shaping the direction of open-world games today. Even though rumours about remasters of other Grand Theft Auto titles, such as Grand Theft Auto 4, have surfaced, the release of Grand Theft Auto 6 is on the horizon. It's possible that Rockstar Games could consider revisiting earlier titles in the future, but as of now, there is no confirmation. Finding the original game through third-party sources or watching gameplay videos remains the best way to explore its early design